Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm a communications strategist at the environmental organization Natura. This training module focuses on improving how our strategic team communicates about marine conservation in the Gulf of California. It offers practical communication strategies for engaging these IEPs respectfully and effectively, with an emphasis on listening, storytelling, and co designing solutions. It features example studies and communication tools such as infographics, IEP audience maps, podcasts, narrative video storyboards, and more. Trainees can adapt their own work to these pieces. The goal is to help Natura teams build stronger, more equitable partnerships that support healthy marine ecosystems and thriving coastal communities. It introduces our IEPs in the region that include local fishing communities, indigenous groups such as the Siri and Yaqui, tourism operators, government agencies, and partner NGOs, and explains why each group's values, livelihoods, and knowledge matter in conserving and conservation planning. The title of this online training module is Marine Conservation in the Gulf of California, Engaging Communities, Building Trust. By the end of this module, you will be better able to recognize who is the most impacted by our work, who can influence outcomes, and how to communicate strategically with each IEP group. Let's start with how you will move through the training. When you first arrive on this homepage, you'll see a brief introduction to the focal issue. From there, you will progress through the site by clicking each tab at the top from left to right along the navigation bar. Each tab represents a step in your learning journey. You begin with an IEP map, then move into communication pieces where you'll apply those ideas to different audiences and formats. Let's go to our first one, IEP Audience Map. This piece walks you through mapping IEPs for our issue. The key takeaway is that not all IEPs are equal. Some hold high influence but are less directly affected, while others are deeply affected but may have less formal power. The primary audience for this piece is our internal teams at Natura that design campaigns or outreach, particularly those that plan partnerships, policy engagement, or community-facing projects. This map is intended to quickly see the main IEPs for Gulf of California conservation. It aims to clarify how each group's culture, livelihood, and conservation priorities intersect so that trainees can anticipate both conflict and opportunities for collaboration. The visual written format facilitates the summary of complex relationships at a glance. Trainees, you can use this technique by maintaining consistent categories, clearly labeling arrows to indicate two-way relationships, and more. As you move through this tab, notice that the mapping encourages you to think about both risk and opportunities in engaging each group. Next, we'll move to the right. This communication piece includes key facts and infographics. This piece is a public-facing explainer about marine conservation in the Gulf of California and Natura's work there, which may take the form of an infographic seen here. The central takeaway is that complex science and policy can be communicated in clear, compelling terms that resonate with non-expert audiences while still respecting the realities of local communities and ecosystems. The purpose is to inform and engage external IEPs such as local fishers, tourism operators, and funders who need a quick overview of why the Gulf of California is both biologically unique and at risk. Its purpose is to build urgency and support for sustainable fishing and habitat protection by pairing striking biodiversity and economic facts with evidence of overfishing and warming seas. It responds to the challenge that many audiences value the Gulf, but do not clearly see how growing fishing pressures and environmental change are driving wildlife declines. The piece is a primarily visual, data-driven format that works well on screens and social media for people who will not read technical reports. Best practices include leading with a simple, emotional, resonant message and a clear call to action, such as enforcing no-take zones and restoring habitats to make messages memorable, using visuals to show change or impact, and clearly identifying who is affected and how. When you review this piece, Look at how the language remains accessible while acknowledging the role of specific IEPs. Next, moving to the right, we have educational podcast episode. This is storytelling podcast, the third communication piece. Using storytelling to connect with Gulf of California communities, a podcast guide for Natura staff. It is designed for Natura trainees and field staff who speak with local fishing communities, indigenous groups such as the Seri and Yaqui, and tourism operators in the Gulf of California. The podcast purpose is to show how storytelling, emotional connection, and a conversational tone can make conservation messages more persuasive and less threatening to local livelihoods and cultures. It responds to a key problem. Many community members see marine conservation as something imposed from the outside that overlooks their needs and traditional knowledge. This is an audio podcast that allows us to model tone and pacing while remaining easy to revisit. The format works best when paired with visuals or maps for more complex or technical ideas. For trainees, the guide stresses four main tips. Use relatable, place-based stories, honor local and indigenous knowledge, avoid blaming language, and end with a hopeful, community-centered call for action. Next tab, we have storytelling for change storyboards. The fourth communication piece is storytelling for change, using Neta's journey to inspire sustainable fishing in Punta Chueca. This storyboard is meant for small-scale fishers in Punta Chueca, Seri community members, and Natura's trainees who need to understand local perspectives on marine conservation. Its purpose is to reduce fear that selective nets will harm livelihoods by illustrating how they can help restore fish population and support more stable catches over time. The story responds to distrust and short-term economic anxiety that often surface when new fishing rules or gear are introduced. The medium is a mixed written visual narrative, which is especially powerful for emotional connection and cultural context, even if it's less suited to sharing details of technical data. The storyboard models several useful tips. It uses a relatable protagonist, which is Neta, shows a clear before and after arc to make change tangible, and highlights community adoption to normalize behavioral change. And closing up, to wrap it up, this training module is designed to do more than familiarize you with marine conservation in the Gulf of California. It aims to change how you think about audiences and power in our communication work. Across the training tabs, here at the top, the common thread is that IEPs must be systematically identified, understood, and engaged if Natura is to achieve durable conservation outcomes. The overarching goal is for you, the first, integrate IEP thinking into every communication plan. Second, adapt messages and formats to the realities of specific IEP groups. And third, use internal tools like mapping and briefing notes to keep our organization aligned. If you leave this module with a clear sense of who you are speaking to, why they matter, and how to best reach them, then this training has done its job. Thank you.